Hello folks, welcome to our canal channel Jose. Today we got a topic about liquids or lubricants on oils and all that good stuff that goes into your car. So for example, a car to operate requires lubrication, cooling, and it requires hydraulic liquids to operate on the power steering, the brakes. A car is a consumer, so when you're driving your car, some liquid might be dropping off level because due to a leakage or due to evaporation. So we are exposing the most used liquids on a car. So for example, engine oil is the number one liquid that you'll be using in most cases because an engine might be burning some oil. You might have a leak on the engine, so you have to compensate that leak with some oil so you can keep it topped off. But if the leak is too big, you don't want to keep it going like that because eventually you're going to have a bigger problem. So you want to take care of that leak. But we recommend to have at least a quart of engine oil that is recommended for your car. That way, in case you do your regular inspection on your car and then you notice that the liquid on the engine or the oil is low, you just grab that extra quart of oil that you have among the other stuff that you keep around, and then you just add it to your engine. That way you bring it back to level, so that way it's safe to operate and you won't have big issues with it. Sometimes we just wait it, I'll go to the auto parts and I'll buy it later, and then what happens, something comes across and then you gotta go somewhere else and then you just forget about it. You end up now forgetting about that liquid that you needed to add to the engine because you didn't have it on hand. So I'll take care of that later. But if you have it on hand, what you will do is that, oh, okay, I have it on hand. You grab it, you add it. Now you bring it back to level. Now it's safe to drive. Another one that we think that is critical to have is a bottle of coolant. So they come in different colors, different manufacturers, different brands, but you always want to add the recommended by the manufacturer of your car. So what we recommend is that you want to have a bottle laying in your garage. That way when your levels are low, you want to get that bottle and add some more antifreeze or coolant to your car so you bring it back to level. That way it will never overheat due to the lack of coolant. A lot of times the cars overheat because they don't have enough coolant in the motor, so the liquid is too little, that the heat is becoming more and it just keeps building and building more heat, but you don't have enough antifreeze or coolant in the engine to get the circulation going. So you want to keep one of these guys in your garage, so whenever you need to top it off, you just grab the bottle, add it on, you put your car in a safe mode again. Then also the one we think that you should have as well is some power steering liquid. What these components do is that it makes our life so easier because we steering the car around, and when we're on dead stop and we're trying to turn the car, it's so easy for us just to turn the steering wheel because the job or the work is being done by the power steering and the rack and pinion or the gearbox. But we don't realize that it requires liquid for those components to operate. It's all hydraulic. So all we have to do is just move the steering wheel and it will just do its job by itself. But if that liquid is slow and it starts dropping, you might even burn out a power steering pump, and that's going to cost you some dollars because now you're going to be struggling to turn the car in different scenarios. So now you're forced to buy a new power steering pump just because the liquid went a drop and you never checked it or you never refill it. But if the liquid is dropping every time you add it and it's becoming a bigger leak, you want to check that out because then it's going to create bigger problems. You don't want to just have oil spill everywhere because the leak is so big and you're just spending money on liquids. You want to also see what's going on, why the liquid is dropping off level. So if it's becoming a problem and you're spending money, check it out as well. Another liquid that we think that you should have on hand on your garage is a transmission fluid or gear oil. Transmission fluid they come in different for different brands, for different manufacturers, but you should have at least one bottle of transmission fluid if you can add it to your transmission. Some of these transmissions now they're sealed, so you cannot even check the fluid or the level on the transmission. But if you have the way to add fluid to your transmission when it's an automatic transmission, you want to keep a bottle of that fluid handy, so whenever you check the fluid, like the older style where it has a dipstick and you check that it's low or high, you check that the level has dropped, then you just add some of the oil if you have the way to add some oil. But like I said, some of the newer transmissions, they're sealed and you can't even do that. Some in the manual transmissions, they're sealed, but there's a way that you can drain or check the fluid on the transmission, because sometimes they leak on the dry shafts and the liquid, it drops just a little bit. There's sometimes in the transmission there has a nut or a plug that you can take out, and then it's the highest level, and if the liquid is not up to that level, you can add some more oil and it keeps the liquid up to the level, so that way it's safe to drive. So that's for actually for transfer cases, manual transmissions, and rear differentials. And the rear differentials, you can check the level or you can add the oil, and if the oil is sometimes is leaking on the gasket, and if the leak is too big, you want to change the gasket, because you're just gonna keep adding more oil and oil and oil. But if the leak is small and you realize and you open and you take the plug out and you realize that there's liquid that needs to be fed in there, you just grab that bottle that you have handy and slide it in there and fill it up to the level. Now you just put the bottle away for the next time you check it, and if it just needs a little bit more, you just add a little bit more of gear oil. So that's for manual transmissions, transfer cases, and differentials. So it's always handy to have these kind of liquids handy on your garage, because you don't have to take it to shops just to get those fluids topped off. And especially when it's just antifreeze or engine oil or power steering oil, that some people they're gonna charge you the whole bottle when you could just do it yourself, and you can keep the bottle to yourself and just use it on another cars. So we think that these liquids are the most important ones to have on your garage. The brake fluid, you're not gonna be using a lot of brake fluid because it's a sealed system, but the only time that you might use this kind of liquid is when you do a flush or you replace a component on the brake system, and now you have to bring it up to level. That's when you use brake fluid. But brake fluid is rarely that you use it, that oil shouldn't actually have leaks. If you have leaks on the brake fluid, you want to check that definitely, because there shouldn't be any leaks on the brake systems. And the power steering and the transmission and all those, you might have leaks here and there, but the brake systems, you shouldn't have any leaks. And like I said, if you're having a brake fluid leaking out, you want to check that out, because that'll be an unsafe scenario and your car might have trouble stopping. So these are the fluids that we think that is basic stuff that you should have at home or in your garage. You don't need to spend a lot of money. You can buy just 1 quart of oil, keep it on the shelf of your garage, 1 gallon of antifreeze for your car, power steering, brake fluid. You can buy the small bottle on a brake fluid. It all depends on what the manufacturer recommends as well. Don't just buy any liquid, because if you mix liquids, it can be a bad deal as well. So you want to go with the recommended or by the manufacturer. Hopefully this video was useful and helpful, because by keeping these liquids handy, it has saved us hundreds of dollars, because we don't end up with an engine that has overheated or seized itself because lubrication, or power steering pumps going out, because we always keep some power steering fluid available, so we just top it off. But if the leaks are bigger, you want to check that out. And for those folks who are watching our video and haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe. If you like your video, give us thumbs up, share it, and we'll see you soon with more videos here en el canal El Chano José.